I couldn't believe it when I heard Judy's voice through the thin walls of the guest room. Her words hit me like a slap across the face. I want the family photo to look perfect, so let's keep Charlotte out of the main shots. Her old clothes will ruin the frame. My hands tightened around the edge of the quilt I'd been folding for Wayne's old bed. Judy's sharp tone wasn't even trying to hide the disdain. She was in the living room, organizing the big family photo shoot for Thanksgiving, and I was supposed to be part of it. Supposed to be. I stood there, frozen, unable to move, as her words sank in. My own daughter-in-law, the woman my son married, was cutting me out of my family's legacy because I didn't fit her vision of perfect. I wanted to storm out and confront her, but my feet wouldn't budge. Instead, I stayed quiet listening as she rattled off names for the photographer's list. Wayne, her parents, her siblings, their kids. My name wasn't there. Not once. Before I dive into this story, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and comment with where you're watching from. Your support means everything. I'm Charlotte, 62 years old, and this is the story of how my daughter-in-law tried to erase me from my own family, and how I fought back in a way nobody saw coming. It all started a few weeks before Thanksgiving, when Judy announced she was planning a big family photo shoot. She'd been buzzing around for days, talking about how this was going to be a legacy moment for the family. She hired a professional photographer, rented a fancy studio downtown, and even sent out a group text with a dress code. Neutral tones, no patterns, nothing too dated. I didn't think much of it at first. Judy's always been particular about appearances. She's the kind of person who color coordinates her kitchen towels and has a meltdown if someone uses the wrong wine glass at dinner. But I figured I'd show up in my best Sunday dress and be part of the memory. Wayne, my son, seemed excited about it too. He kept saying how it'd be great to have everyone together for once, especially since his dad passed 5 years ago, and we hadn't done anything like this since. The day I overheard Judy, I was at their house helping with some holiday prep. Wayne and Judy live about an hour from my little apartment, and I'd driven over to drop off some homemade pies and help set up for the family gathering. Judy had been polite enough when I arrived, offering me coffee, asking about my drive, but there was this edge to her I couldn't quite place. She kept checking her phone and making excuses to step out of the room. I brushed it off, thinking she was just stressed about the photo shoot, but then I heard her talking to her sister on the phone while I was tidying up Wayne's old room. That's when she said it. Charlotte's clothes are so outdated, it'll throw off the whole aesthetic. I'm not having her in the main photo. Her sister laughed and said something I couldn't catch, but Judy went on. I've got it handled. I'll put her in a couple side shots, so she doesn't feel left out, but the big family portrait, no way. I stood there, gripping that quilt so hard, my knuckles turned white. My mind was racing. This wasn't just about a photo. This was Judy deciding I didn't belong, that I wasn't good enough for her picture-perfect version of the family. I thought about all the years I'd poured into this family, raising Wayne on my own after his dad got sick, working 2 jobs to keep food on the table, making sure he had everything he needed to build a good life. And now here was Judy acting like I was some embarrassing relic to be tucked away. I wanted to scream, but I didn't. I just stood there, letting the hurt wash over me. I don't know how long I stayed like that, but eventually, I heard Judy hang up and start talking to Wayne about the photo shoot schedule. He didn't say much, just mumbled agreements, and I wondered if he even knew what she was planning. I didn't confront her that day. I couldn't. Part of me was too stunned, and part of me didn't want to make a scene before the holidays. So I finished folding the quilt, left the pies on the counter, and drove home. The whole way back I kept replaying her words in my head. Old clothes. Ruin the frame. It wasn't about the clothes. I knew that. Judy's family had money, old money, and she'd never let me forget it. From the moment Wayne brought her home, she'd looked at me like I was beneath her. My modest apartment, my second-hand car, my simple life, they were all things she turned her nose up at. But this was a new low. Cutting me out of a family photo because I didn't match her Instagram-worthy vision, that was personal. The next few days were a blur. I tried to focus on my usual routine, watering my plants, knitting scarves for the church bazaar, but Judy's words kept creeping back. I started wondering if Wayne was in on it. Did he know? Did he agree? The thought made my chest ache. Wayne and I had always been close. Even after he married Judy, he'd call me every week, drive over to fix things around my apartment, take me out for coffee. But lately, he'd been quieter. Distracted. I chalked it up to his new job, but now I wasn't so sure. Maybe Judy had gotten to him. Maybe he was ashamed of me too. By the time Thanksgiving week rolled around, I was a wreck. I hadn't told anyone what I'd heard. Not my sister, not my friends, nobody. I kept it bottled up, hoping maybe I'd misunderstood, or that Judy would change her mind. The photo shoot was scheduled for the day after Thanksgiving at a studio in the city. Judy had sent out a detailed itinerary to everyone, where to park, what time to arrive, what to wear. I noticed my name was only listed for a secondary family shot at the end of the session. The main portrait, the one she'd been obsessing over, didn't include me. I thought about not going, just skipping the whole thing and letting Judy have her perfect photo. But then I thought about Wayne, about my grandkids, about how this was supposed to be a moment for all of us. I couldn't let her take that from me. So I went. I put on my best dress, a navy blue one I'd worn to Wayne's college graduation, did my hair, and showed up at the studio. Judy was already there, directing everyone like she was running a movie set. She barely looked at me when I walked in, just gave me a tight smile, and said, "Oh, Charlotte, you're early." The secondary shots aren't until later. I nodded and found a corner to sit in watching as she posed her parents, her siblings, their kids. Wayne was there, too, laughing with his cousins, looking so much like his dad it hurt to watch. Nobody seemed to notice I wasn't in the main group. Nobody except me. The photographer was snapping away, calling out instructions, and Judy was in her element, adjusting collars, smoothing hair, making sure every detail was flawless. I sat there feeling like an outsider in my own family. When it was finally time for the secondary shots, Judy waved me over like an afterthought. "Charlotte, you can jump in now." I stood next to Wayne and my grandkids, forcing a smile as the camera clicked. But it wasn't the same. I knew I was just a footnote in Judy's perfect plan. That night at the Thanksgiving dinner, I kept my head down. Judy's family was loud and cheerful, passing plates of turkey and pie, talking about the photos and how stunning they were going to be. Wayne sat next to me, but he was quiet, barely touching his food. I wondered if he sensed something was off. I wanted to ask him, but I didn't. Not there. Not in front of everyone. Instead, I made small talk with my grandkids and tried to act like everything was fine. But it wasn't fine. And I wasn't going to let Judy get away with it. A few days after Thanksgiving, I was going through some old boxes in my apartment, looking for Christmas decorations, when I found an old photo from when Wayne was a kid. It was taken at a county fair, back when we had next to nothing. Wayne was maybe 10, holding a cheap plastic trophy from a ring toss game, grinning ear to ear. His dad was next to him laughing, and I was there too, in a faded sundress, my arm around them both. We looked happy. Really happy. Not because we had money or fancy clothes, but because we had each other. That's when the idea hit me. Judy wanted a perfect photo. Fine. I'd give her one she'd never forget. I took that old picture to a print shop and had it blown up into a huge canvas, 3 feet by 4 feet. I spent $200 on it. Money I didn't really have, but it was worth every penny. I wrapped it up and waited for the right moment. Christmas was coming up, and Wayne and Judy were hosting a big family party. I knew that was my chance. I showed up at their house with the canvas tucked under a blanket in my car. Judy greeted me at the door, all smiles, acting like nothing had happened. "Charlotte, so glad you could make it. Come in, the food's almost ready." I nodded and carried the canvas inside, setting it against the wall in the living room where everyone would see it. Wayne gave me a curious look, but didn't ask. Not yet. The party was in full swing. Judy's family, Wayne's cousins, my grandkids running around. Everyone was eating, drinking, laughing. Judy had hung up a few of the photoshoot pictures on the wall, all framed and polished. I wasn't in any of them. I waited until the moment felt right, when everyone was gathered in the living room for dessert. Then I stood up and cleared my throat. "I have a little gift for the family," I said, keeping my voice steady. Judy looked up from her wine glass, surprised. Wayne raised an eyebrow. I walked over to the canvas, pulled off the blanket, and held it up for everyone to see. The room went quiet. There we were, me, Wayne, his dad, in that old faded photo. Our clothes were worn, our faces were sweaty from the summer heat, but our smiles were real. I looked at Judy as I spoke. This is what family looks like to me. Not perfect clothes or fancy studios. Just love. Judy's face turned red. She opened her mouth to say something, but nothing came out. Wayne stood up, staring at the canvas, his eyes wide. "Mom, where'd you find this?" he asked, his voice soft. I told him about the county fair, how his dad had spent our last $5 on that ring toss game just to see him smile. I didn't look at Judy, but I could feel her glaring at me. The rest of the family started murmuring, some of them, smiling, others looking uncomfortable. Judy's mom tried to change the subject, but it was too late. The moment was mine. That's when Wayne did something I didn't expect. He walked over to the wall where Judy had hung their wedding photo, the one she loved to show off. He took it down gently and hung my canvas in its place. "This belongs here," he said, not looking at Judy. The room was so quiet, you could hear the kids playing in the next room. Judy stood up, her wine glass shaking in her hand. "Wayne, what are you doing?" she hissed. He didn't answer. He just turned to me and said, "Thanks, Mom." Judy stormed out of the room, and I knew this wasn't over. But for the first time in weeks, I felt like I'd won. Not because I'd embarrassed her, but because I'd reminded everyone, especially Wayne, what family really means. I didn't know what would happen next, but I was ready for it. Judy had drawn a line, and I wasn't backing down. The Christmas party didn't end with Judy storming out, but it might as well have. The air in the room shifted after Wayne hung that canvas, and everyone could feel it. Judy's family tried to keep the conversation going. Her dad started talking about his golf game. Her mom passed around more dessert, but it was like trying to ignore a crack in the wall. People kept glancing at the canvas, then at me, then at the empty spot where Judy had gone. Wayne didn't say much after that. He just sat back down next to me and squeezed my hand under the table. It was a small gesture, but it meant everything. I hadn't been sure where he stood until that moment, and now I knew he was with me. At least for now. Judy didn't come back for the rest of the party. I heard her moving around in the kitchen, later banging pots and pans, louder than necessary. I stayed in the living room, talking to my grandkids, trying to keep things light. They loved the canvas, pointing at their dad's goofy grin, and asking about the fair. I told them stories about their grandpa, how he'd always sneak them extra cotton candy when I wasn't looking. It felt good to talk about him, to remember those days when life was hard, but love was easy. But every now and then, I'd catch Judy's mom, or one of her siblings, giving me a look like I'd crossed some invisible line by bringing that photo into their perfect world. When it was time to go, Wayne walked me to my car. The canvas was still hanging in the living room, and I half expected Judy to rip it down the second I left. "Mom," Wayne said, as we stood by my old sedan, "I didn't know she was going to leave you out of the photos." I swear. His voice was low, like he didn't want anyone inside to hear. I looked at him, trying to read his face. He looked tired, his eyes heavy with something I couldn't quite name. "It's okay," I said, even though it wasn't. "I just wanted to remind everyone what matters." He nodded, but didn't say anything else. As I drove home, I kept thinking about that look on his face. Was it guilt? Regret? Or was he just caught in the middle of something he didn't know how to fix? The next few days were quiet. Too quiet. Wayne didn't call like he usually did, and when I texted him, he responded with short, one-word answers. Judy didn't reach out at all, which wasn't surprising, but it still stung. I tried to stay busy, knitting, cleaning my apartment, visiting my neighbor for coffee, but my mind kept going back to that party. I wondered what Judy was saying to Wayne behind closed doors. Was she blaming me for ruining her perfect Christmas? Was she twisting the story to make me the bad guy? The thought made my stomach churn, but I pushed it down. I'd done what I needed to do. The canvas was my truth, and I wasn't ashamed of it. About a week later, I got a call from my sister Ellen. She'd been at the party and had seen everything. "Charlotte, what's going on with you and Judy?" she asked straight out. I told her what I'd overheard before the photo shoot, how Judy had cut me out because of my old clothes. Ellen was furious. "That girl's got some nerve," she said. "You need to talk to Wayne. He can't let her treat you like that." I told her I didn't want to put Wayne in the middle, but Ellen wasn't having it. "He's your son. He needs to know what kind of woman he's married to." I didn't argue, but I wasn't ready to drag Wayne into it yet. He was already caught between us, and I didn't want to make it worse. Then something happened that changed everything. It was a few days before New Year's, and I was at the grocery store picking up some things for dinner. As I was loading my bags into the car, I saw Judy's mom, Patricia, pulling into the parking lot. She spotted me and waved like nothing was wrong. I braced myself as she walked over, her designer purse swinging on her arm. "Charlotte, how lovely to see you," she said, her voice dripping with that fake sweetness she always used. I nodded, trying to keep my face neutral. "I just wanted to say," she went on, "that the canvas was a nice touch at the party. Very sentimental. But Judy's been under a lot of stress with the holidays and the photo shoot. I'm sure you didn't mean to upset her." I stared at her, my hands tightening around my grocery bags. She was defending Judy, acting like I'd done something wrong by standing up for myself. "Patricia," I said, keeping my voice calm, "Judy left me out of the family photos because she thought I'd ruin them. That's not stress. That's disrespect." Her smile faltered, but she didn't back down. "Oh, Charlotte, I'm sure it was just a misunderstanding. Judy loves you. She just wants everything to be perfect." I didn't say anything else. I just got in my car and drove away, my hands shaking on the steering wheel. A misunderstanding? No. Judy knew exactly what she was doing. That conversation lit a fire in me. I'd been trying to keep the peace for Wayne's sake, but I was done, letting Judy and her family walk all over me. When I got home, I called Wayne and asked him to come over. He showed up an hour later, looking like he hadn't slept in days. "Mom, what's wrong?" he asked as soon as he walked in. I didn't waste time. I told him everything, how I'd overheard Judy, how she'd cut me out of the photos, how her mom had tried to smooth it over like it was nothing. Wayne listened, his face getting darker with every word. When I finished, he didn't say anything for a long time. Then he looked at me and said, "I'm sorry, Mom. I should have noticed. I should have done something." I could see he meant it, but I also knew he was stuck. Judy was his wife, the mother of his kids. He couldn't just walk away from that. "Wayne," I said, "I don't want you to fight my battles, but I need you to see what's happening. She's trying to push me out, and I'm not going anywhere." He nodded, his jaw tight. "I'll talk to her," he said. "This isn't okay." I didn't know if he'd follow through, but it was a start. The next day, Wayne called me. His voice was tense, like he was trying to keep it together. "I talked to Judy," he said. "She admitted she left you out of the photos. She said it was because she wanted the pictures to look cohesive, but she swears it wasn't personal." I almost laughed. Not personal. She'd been treating me like an outsider for years. "What did you say?" I asked. He sighed. "I told her it was wrong. That you're my mom and you belong in every photo. She didn't take it well. She thinks you're blowing this out of proportion." I wasn't surprised. Judy wasn't the type to admit she was wrong. "What now?" I asked. Wayne hesitated. "I don't know, Mom. I'm trying to fix this, but it's complicated." Complicated. That word stuck with me. I knew what it meant. Judy wasn't going to back down, and Wayne was caught in the middle. I didn't push him, but I made it clear I wasn't going to let this go. "Wayne," I said, "family isn't about perfection. It's about showing up for each other. If Judy can't see that, then we've got a bigger problem than a photo." He didn't say much after that, but I could tell he was thinking hard. A few days later, I got a text from Judy. It was short and to the point, Charlotte. I'm sorry if you felt left out of the photos. It wasn't my intention. Let's move on. I stared at that message for a long time. It wasn't an apology. It was a brush off. She wasn't sorry for what she did. She was sorry I'd made a fuss about it. I didn't respond. I didn't trust myself to keep my cool. Instead, I forwarded the text to Ellen, who called me immediately. She's trying to sweep it under the rug, Ellen said. Don't let her. I didn't plan to. The tension kept building. Wayne started coming over more often, sometimes with the kids, sometimes alone. He didn't talk much about Judy, but I could tell things weren't good at home. One night, he showed up with a bottle of wine, and we sat at my kitchen table, talking like we used to when he was younger. Mom, he said, after a while, I don't know how to fix this. Judy's acting like you're the one who started this fight, and I'm trying to make her see she's wrong, but she won't listen. I looked at him, my heart aching for him. Wayne, I said, you don't have to fix it. Just don't let her erase me. That's all I'm asking. He nodded, but I could see the weight on his shoulders. Then came the next blow. It was mid-January, and I was invited to my granddaughter's birthday party at Wayne and Judy's house. I wasn't sure if I should go, but I didn't want to miss it. When I got there, Judy was her usual polished self, greeting everyone with a big smile. But I noticed something right away. The canvas was gone. The wedding photo was back on the wall, like nothing had happened. I looked at Wayne, but he wouldn't meet my eyes. I didn't say anything, not in front of the kids, but I felt like I'd been punched. Judy had won this round, and she knew it. The party went on like normal cake, presents kids running around, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. Judy's family was there, and they kept giving me those same looks from Christmas. I overheard her mom whispering to her sister about keeping the peace, and I knew they were talking about me. I stayed for my granddaughter's sake, but I left as soon as I could. On the drive home, I made a decision. Judy could take down the canvas, but she couldn't take away my place in this family. I was going to fight smarter this time. After the birthday party, I knew I couldn't keep playing Judy's game. She thought she'd won by taking down the canvas and putting her wedding photo back up, but I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. I spent the next few days thinking about what to do. I didn't want to keep fighting with her through Wayne. That wasn't fair to him. I needed something bigger, something that would make her see I wasn't going anywhere. That's when I remembered the family reunion coming up in the spring. It was a big deal. Wayne's dad's side of the family got together every few years, and this time it was going to be at a lake house a few hours away. I hadn't planned on going, but now I saw my chance. I called my cousin Linda, who was organizing the reunion, and told her I wanted to help. She was thrilled. She'd been trying to get me to come for years. Charlotte, we'd love to have you, she said. What do you want to do? I told her I wanted to put together a family slideshow, something to honor everyone, especially Wayne's dad. Linda loved the idea and said she'd give me full control. I didn't tell her about Judy or the photoshoot. I didn't need to. This was about showing the family who we were, not about starting drama. I spent the next month digging through old photos. I had boxes of them, pictures from when Wayne was a baby, from our early years with his dad, from birthdays and holidays and random days at the park. I found photos of Wayne's grandparents, his aunts and uncles, his cousins, and I made sure I was in plenty of them. Not because I wanted to be the center of attention, but because I was part of this family, whether Judy liked it or not. I scanned every photo and worked with a friend who knew how to make slideshows. We set it to music, old country songs Wayne's dad used to love, and added little captions about each memory. While I was working on the slideshow, I kept things quiet. I didn't tell Wayne or Judy what I was doing. Wayne was still coming over now and then, but he didn't talk much about Judy, and I didn't ask. I could tell he was trying to keep the peace at home, and I didn't want to make it harder for him. But I also wasn't going to let Judy think she'd scared me off. One day, he showed up at my apartment with my grandkids, and we spent the afternoon baking cookies. As we were cleaning up, he looked at me and said, "Mom, I'm sorry about the canvas. Judy didn't want it up, and I didn't want to fight about it." I nodded, trying to keep my face neutral. "It's okay, Wayne," I said. I've got something else in mind. He gave me a curious look, but I didn't elaborate. I wasn't ready to show my hand yet. The reunion was in April, and by the time it rolled around, I was ready. The slideshow was done, 10 minutes of photos, music, and memories. I'd also made copies of some of the best photos, and had them framed as gifts for the family. I drove to the lake house with my car packed full, feeling nervous, but determined. Judy and Wayne were already there when I arrived. Judy gave me a polite smile, but I could see the tension in her eyes. She hadn't expected me to show up, let alone take a big role in the reunion. Wayne hugged me and whispered, "Glad you're here, Mom." That was enough to keep me going. The first day of the reunion was all about catching up barbecues games, kids running around the lake. I helped Linda with the food, and made sure to talk to everyone, especially Wayne's cousins, who I hadn't seen in years. Judy stuck close to her own family, keeping her distance from me. I didn't care. I was there for my family, not her. That night, after dinner, Linda announced that we were going to have a special presentation. She called me up to the front of the big living room, where we'd set up a projector. Judy looked surprised, but she didn't say anything. Wayne was sitting near the front, with the kids looking curious. I took a deep breath and started the slideshow. The first photo was of Wayne's dad as a kid, fishing with his grandpa. The room erupted in laughter and cheers. As the photos kept coming, Wayne as a baby, me and his dad on our wedding day, Wayne's first bike ride, people started sharing stories. Wayne's cousins talked about their dad. My sister-in-law cried when she saw a picture of her mom. The whole room was alive with memories. I glanced at Judy a few times. She was sitting stiffly, her arms crossed. I could tell she wasn't happy, but she couldn't do anything about it. This wasn't her show. When the slideshow ended, everyone clapped. Linda hugged me and said it was the best thing we'd ever done at a reunion. Wayne came up and put his arm around me. "Mom, that was incredible," he said. I could see Judy watching us, her face tight. I handed out the framed photos to everyone, making sure Wayne got one of him and his dad at that county fair. He held it like it was made of glass, his eyes soft. Judy didn't say a word, but I knew she was fuming. The next day, Judy pulled me aside. We were outside by the lake, and she looked like she'd been holding it in for hours. "Charlotte," she said, her voice sharp, "that slideshow was a nice gesture, but it felt a little pointed. Like you were trying to make a statement." I looked at her, my heart racing, but my voice steady. "Judy, I was honoring my family. If that feels like a statement to you, maybe you should think about why." Her eyes narrowed, but she didn't have a comeback. She just turned and walked away. That moment felt like a turning point. Judy had tried to erase me, but I'd come back stronger. The slideshow wasn't just about photos. It was about showing everyone that my place in this family wasn't up for debate. Wayne started calling me more after the reunion. He even brought the kids over for a weekend, and we looked through more old photos together. Judy didn't come, and I didn't ask why. I was starting to feel like I'd won, not just a battle, but the war. But Judy wasn't done. A few weeks later, I got a call from Wayne. His voice was shaky, like he was trying not to lose it. "Mom," he said, "Judy's talking about doing another photo shoot. She wants to redo the family portrait. She says it's for the kids, but I know it's because of the reunion." I felt a knot in my stomach. Of course she was. Judy couldn't stand that I'd taken control at the reunion, and now she was trying to take it back. "What do you think?" Wayne asked. I took a deep breath. "Wayne, if she wants a new photo, fine. But I'm in it. No excuses." He didn't say much, but I could tell he was thinking it over. The new photo shoot was scheduled for the summer, and I knew it was going to be another showdown. I wasn't backing down, and neither was Judy. But this time, I had something she didn't: the family on my side. The reunion had reminded everyone who I was and what I'd done for them. Judy could plan all the photo shoots she wanted, but she couldn't erase that. The summer photo shoot was Judy's next move, and I could feel the tension building as the date got closer. Wayne told me about it in June, a few weeks after the reunion. He said Judy was calling it a fresh start for the family photos, something to capture the kids growing up. But I knew better. This wasn't about the kids. This was Judy trying to take back control, After the reunion slideshow had shifted things in my favor, she'd been quiet since the lake house, but I could tell she was planning something. Wayne sounded hesitant when he told me like he was waiting for me to say I wouldn't go. But I wasn't giving her that satisfaction. "I'll be there," I told him. "And I'm not sitting in the back this time." The weeks leading up to the photo shoot were strange. Wayne was over at my place more often, sometimes with the kids, sometimes just to talk. He didn't bring up Judy much, but I could tell things were strained. One night, we were sitting on my couch watching old home movies, and he turned to me. "Mom," he said, "I don't know how to make this right. Judy's got her ideas about family, and you've got yours. I'm stuck in the middle." I looked at him, my heart heavy. "Wayne," I said, "you're not in the middle. You're my son. That's where you stand." He didn't say anything, but he nodded like he was trying to hold on to that. Judy didn't reach out to me directly, but she sent a group email with the photo shoot details. Same fancy studio, same dress code, same everything as last time. My name was on the list for the main portrait this time, but I didn't trust it. I remembered how she'd included me in the secondary shots last year, like an afterthought. I wasn't going to let that happen again. I went through my closet and found a new dress. Not expensive, but sharp enough to fit her neutral tone nonsense. I wasn't playing her game, but I wasn't giving her an excuse to push me out either. The day of the photo shoot was hot and sticky. I drove to the studio early, my stomach in knots. When I walked in, Judy was already there, directing the photographer like she was running a fashion show. She saw me and gave me that tight smile again. "Charlotte, you're here," she said, like she was surprised. "Of course," I said, keeping my voice even. "This is a family photo, right?" She didn't respond, just turned back to the photographer. Wayne showed up a few minutes later with the kids looking stressed, but he hugged me and whispered, "Thanks for coming, Mom." That was all I needed to keep going. The shoot started, and Judy was in full control. She posed everyone just so her parents in the center, her siblings on one side, Wayne and the kids on the other. I noticed she kept trying to position me toward the edge, but I wasn't having it. When the photographer called for the main portrait, I stepped right into the middle next to Wayne and put my arm around my grandkids. Judy's eyes flashed, but she didn't say anything. The photographer seemed confused, but he went with it, snapping away, as I smiled like I belonged there. Because I did. After the main shot, Judy tried to pull me aside for smaller group photos, but I shook my head. "I'm in all of them," I said loud enough for everyone to hear. Wayne backed me up. "Yeah, Mom's in every shot," he said, his voice firm. Judy's face went tight, but she didn't argue. For the rest of the shoot, I made sure I was front and center. I could feel her watching me, her frustration growing, but I didn't care. This was my family too, and I wasn't letting her erase me again. When the shoot was over, Judy didn't stick around to chat. She thanked the photographer, packed up her things, and left with her parents. Wayne stayed behind, helping me carry some stuff to my car. "You did good today, Mom," he said, as we walked to the parking lot. "I'm proud of you." I looked at him surprised. "Proud of me?" I asked. He nodded. "You didn't let her push you out." "I should have done more last time." "I'm sorry." I hugged him, my eyes stinging. "You're doing enough now," I said. And I meant it. The photos came back a few weeks later, and Judy sent them out to everyone. I was in every single one, right where I belonged. She didn't say anything about it, but I could tell it killed her to send those out. Wayne hung one of the main portraits in their living room, right next to the canvas I'd given them. Judy didn't take it down this time. I don't know if it was because she was tired of fighting, or because Wayne put his foot down, but it felt like a victory. Things didn't magically get better after that. Judy and I still weren't close, and I doubted we ever would be. But something had shifted. She wasn't trying to push me out anymore, at least not openly. Wayne started standing up for me more, calling out Judy when she made her little digs. The kids noticed too. My granddaughter started asking to spend more time with me, and I made sure to fill those days with stories about their grandpa and the family we'd built. One day in the fall, Wayne showed up at my apartment with a box. "I found this in the attic," he said, setting it down on my kitchen table. Inside were more old photos, some I hadn't seen in years. There were pictures of me and Wayne's dad on our first date of Wayne's first birthday of us fixing up our old house. "I want to make a scrapbook," Wayne said, "for the kids. So, they know where we came from." I looked at him, my heart full. "I'd love that," I said. We spent the rest of the day sorting through the photos, laughing and remembering. Judy wasn't there, but for once, it didn't matter. This was our family, and we were keeping it alive. By the time the holidays rolled around, again, things were different. Not perfect, but better. Judy and I weren't friends, but we'd reached a kind of truce. She didn't try to control every family event anymore, and I didn't feel like I had to fight for my place. Wayne had a lot to do with that. He'd started setting boundaries with Judy, making it clear that I was part of the family no matter what. It wasn't easy for him. I could see the strain it put on their marriage, but he didn't back down. Thanksgiving was at Wayne and Judy's house again, and this time I was included in everything. Judy even asked me to bring my pies, which felt like a small olive branch. I showed up with 3 of them, apple, pecan, and pumpkin, and the kids ran to hug me as soon as I walked in. Judy was polite, not warm, but not cold either. It was progress. During dinner, Wayne made a point to thank me for the pies in front of everyone, and I saw Judy's mom give her a look like she wasn't happy about it. I didn't care. I was there with my family, and that's what mattered. After dinner, we all sat in the living room, and Wayne pulled out the scrapbook we'd been working on. He'd added more photos, and even some letters his dad had written me when we were young. The kids were fascinated, asking questions about every picture. Judy sat quietly watching, but she didn't try to change the subject or take over. When we got to the county fair photo, the one I'd blown up into the canvas, Wayne looked at me and smiled. "This one's my favorite," he said. "It's us." I nodded, my throat tight. It was us. The canvas was still hanging in the living room, right next to the new family portrait. Judy hadn't touched it, and I didn't think she would. Not now. Wayne had made it clear that it wasn't just a photo, it was our history, our family's story. And nobody was going to erase that. A few weeks later, Judy surprised me. She called and asked if I wanted to join her and the kids for a baking day at their house. I was skeptical, but I said yes. When I got there, she was actually showing me her recipe for sugar cookies, letting the kids teach me how to decorate them. It wasn't perfect. We didn't suddenly become best friends, but it was a start. As we were cleaning up, she looked at me and said, "Charlotte, I'm sorry about last year. I got caught up in appearances and I was wrong." It wasn't a big speech, but it was enough. I nodded and said, "Let's just move forward." And we did. The next family photo shoot was different. Judy didn't hire a fancy photographer or rent a studio. We did it ourselves in their backyard with a tripod and a timer. Everyone was there. Me, Wayne, the kids, Judy's family, my sister. We wore whatever we wanted and laughed through the whole thing. The photos weren't perfect, but they were real. When they came back, Wayne printed one out and hung it in the living room next to the canvas and the portrait from the summer. It felt like a full circle. Looking back, I realized none of this was about the photos. It was about respect, about family, about standing up for what matters. Judy and I will never be close, but we don't have to be. We're part of the same family, and we've learned to make it work. Wayne stepped up when it counted, and that's what I'll always remember. The canvas, the slideshow, the scrapbook, they weren't just about fighting back. They were about holding onto the love that built this family in the first place. And that's something nobody can take away. If this story hit you, check out the next one on your screen. Click subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's coming. Thanks for being here.